Hello, everyone. My name is Toni Moore. Today, we're going to have a lawyered up or not chat, and this is on the business side of life. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Toni Moore. I am a 22-year attorney. I have been able to work at nonprofits and corporations and law firms, governmental agencies. I've been able to help people with their businesses, with their probate, with their estate planning, with their intellectual property, digital assets, helping them to onboard individuals, whether or not they're going to be their employees, their teams, and things of that nature. Thank you so much. Also, I've been able to pretty much help people with their shareholder deals and with regards to the digitization of their assets. What I know for sure is that business is an awesome and amazing way that we can change the trajectory of our financial legacy. Once upon a time, long time ago, when I graduated from law school in '98, all I wanted to do was estate planning. But I learned that a lot of my people did not know. The people who had the money, they were still broke. They did not have the financial acumen. And statistically speaking, actually, people who inherit money end up losing it because for whatever reason, their parents are not teaching them how to be fiscally responsible. Also, with regards to a lot of people who have a business, it doesn't become a generational wealth building business because their children are not part of it for whatever reason, or they're not interested for whatever reason. Or the money doesn't get the business doesn't get sold. So then, unfortunately, when someone dies, a family member dies, guess what dies with them? Their business dies with them. And because they did not register their digital assets, whether their copyright, their intellectual property regarding their trademark, other patents, then guess what? It dies with them. And then even and by de facto, it becomes public domain, and someone else controls, alters, and deletes on the currency that should have been for the family members, right? So awful. But today I wanted to have a conversation with regards to the personal business side of your life. So we're going to deal with the personal business side of your life. Make sure that you can see this as well. So I'm going to just see. Okay, let me see if this works. So when you lawyer up your business, I want you to understand that I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about your employers. If you're working, if you have a side hustle or a business, if you have estate planning, this is what I'm talking about when you're lawyering up the family side of your business. Also with regards to your personal security and your financial security. So right now we're having this conversation when there is a corona crisis. A lot of people are having family disputes and family discussions that they never really had before. Statistically speaking, most families do not have more than $500 saved, even though people talk about budgets all day long, even though people talk about financial literacy, people don't implement the information. And when you are getting the education, but you're not implementing the information, it just becomes a figment of your imagination. And I don't want that to happen. I mean, I'm like getting closer and closer to 50, but I'm still deep down on the inside that young girl who wanted to see what could happen if other people like that look like me and talk like me and came from like the same beginnings as me, we got a chance to have that American dream. And the American dream, kind of like what we saw with the with regards to a different world in the Cosby Show, is that I still want to see it. Now, maybe it's something about being a Generation Xer, but I still want to see what was presented to me as a possibility, and not just for me and my family, because thank God I'm no longer in the projects. Thank God I did not become the statistics of my the statistics does not reflect where I'm at right now. Thank God I have two beautiful sons and a husband, and we live in the suburbs, and I have a business, and I also help people to not be dreamers but become visionaries, and they actually activate what they have, right? So when we're luring up the business, the family business, I want you to definitely think about this information. Like, what does it look like to you at the next level? So the basic CEO responsibilities, when you're luring up your personal business side, obviously you got to think about the guardianship of your minor children. Do you have the guardianship of your minor children? Is everything taken care of at that level with regards to them? because here's the thing. If you're a single mom and something should happen to you and you do not have a will in place that gives direction with regards to where your children are supposed to go to, then it's going to be by default, and oftentimes default is the children's father, right? And if there is issues, once upon a time for like 8 years, I handle family law issues, and there's usually some issues with regards to when mom and dad aren't together, or when mom and dad have an oopsie baby and then dad walks away, or when mom and dad has an oopsie baby and mom walks away. Okay, well, let's keep it real, because sometimes there is only one parent who is raising that child. Thankfully, there's also situations where even though mom and dad don't get along, they understand and appreciate that it has to be whatever they do is for the best interest of the children or the child, right? So when I talk about the guardianship, what basic CEO responsibilities, look, truth be told, right, until our kids turn 18, or at least when they graduate from high school, because that's how most support issues and custody issues are in place in statutes, then it's our responsibility. It's the parent's responsibility to make sure that the child is fine. And if you know that you have a dysfunctional situation with your child, or your family and members, then you need to put a guardianship in place. Because when you don't have a guardianship agreement in place, then your family members, whoever, if it's not the mom or the dad, then family members will then have to go to orphans court and file for guardianship of the minor child. And let me just tell you something. It's just certain things that you just need to be proactive on, because when you're not proactive, then it becomes a confusion, chaos, and calamity. And most people cannot think about what they need to do when they're under pressure, when there's a death, there's a sickness, where there's an absentee. They can't be proactive. So I don't want you to think that it's going to happen immediately. There's nothing that happens immediately. That's why you got to put a plan in place. I love putting plans in place, and I know even though man plans and God smiles, guess what? You avoid a whole bunch of problems when you at least have a plan in place. So one is the guardianship of your minor child. If you have family members, because I know some family members are taking care of family who are they're of age, but they're physically incapacitated, or they're mentally incapacitated. Well, guess what? If you don't put a guardianship in place, then it goes by default. One, your family could be fighting over it, or two, maybe nobody wants to do it, or maybe somebody will say, yeah, I want it, because they knew that you had insurance on the person and you put some plans in place with regards to a will, right? So the next thing with regards to guardianship of your child, first and foremost, the second one is to have a will. I know nobody wants to think about wills, and I don't just talk about wills during the corona crisis. I'm licensed to practice law in Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm definitely putting, during this cabin moment, when I'm quarantined moment, I'm definitely going to put in my information for New York, because it's up the street and around the corner, and I've been practicing for over 21 years, right? But having a will in place is necessary. Let me just tell you, I get a lot of phone calls from people who did not have a will in place, and what ends up happening is that a family member, they start fighting over what they think that they were entitled to, what they should have been entitled to, what mama said, or what daddy said, or what great granddaddy said, because somebody wasn't proactive with regards to the estate planning, proactive with regards to their coins. And I know we're busy, because oftentimes we have a job, we have places to go, we're going to meetings, we're going to church, we're going to work, we're taking classes and stuff like this. But right now you don't really have an excuse. So you don't excuse yourself from the equation, right? I want you to be like, what do I need to do? Do I have a will in place? Who would be my executor? Who would be for my pour over wills? We add that if you have minor children. Who would be the trustee of my minor children? With regards to it, what's going to be in place if with regards to my assets, my digital assets, my financial planning assets, my Facebook accounts, what's going to be in place? Because a lot of people don't have this conversation. And I look at them, when I'm on the probate side of their life, and they're like, well, I didn't know what to do. Well, now you don't have an excuse, because my job today is to inform you about other things that you need to do to lawyer up your personal affairs, right? So also a healthcare directive. Now, I did recently hear that in some states, with regards to the healthcare directive, they are going to pretty much, if someone is dying from COVID-19, that they're not going to resuscitate them because it will cause more damage and harm to the hospital workers, employees, and the doctors who are trying to serve them. It would put them in a state of emergency because they would be susceptible to being infected, right? But oftentimes, when it's not a crisis, then it's a conversation to be had, and it's usually a hard conversation to be had, because I do know some family members where we had to help them make that decision making, and it's really hard because your emotions are there. You can't believe that your family member is in that state where someone actually has to make a determination as to whether or not they should be resuscitated, whether or not they should be fed, whether or not, they should receive blood infusions. But if you are a person who is like, I have my preferences, then you need to put things in place. You need to put it in writing, because when you put it in writing, it has to be respected. Okay. Also, with regards to durable power of attorneys, I pretend like I put durable power of attorneys and limited power of attorneys, right? So the durable power of attorneys would be for if something should happen to you. You can have a springing power of attorney, where if for whatever reason your doctor thinks that you are no longer able to, you are mentally incapacitated, or maybe physically incapacitated, someone will help you with regards to going to the bank for you, doing your real estate for you, suing people who try to control, alt, and delete on your callings, things of that nature. If you have real estate deals, if you have business deals, and you trust the person who's going to service your agent, then you put business deals in place. I also, for my clients, also put an agreement that says that they have access to their medical records, like a medical records release. I always do that because I know it's hard to get information when you need information to shift a person from maybe one hospital to another because you don't think that your family member is being cared for, or if you need to go and meet up with the doctor, but they're like, well, do you have the documents? And if you don't have access to the documents, nor do you have the release, then some people will say, well, she's a durable power, he's a durable power, so we're going to release him. And some people are like, no, there was no information, it wasn't on file, so we're not going to do it, right? So with regards to that durable power of attorney, and I also said on the screen, pretend like I also have limited business, a limited power of attorney when you're in business, because the limited business power of attorney will allow someone else to operate on your behalf. I'll never forget hearing about this one story. I couldn't do anything about it. I inherit people like everybody else inherits people, and the husband, he got really ill, and he was immobilized. He couldn't think. They had to shut down a lot of his what is it, body, and had to sedate him, but no one knew where he banked for the business. No one had access to the business account because he was the solopreneur. His wife couldn't do anything because technically he still owned it, and she didn't have a durable power of attorney on file, and she didn't have access to the bank accounts. So after I learned about that and I couldn't do anything, I've been telling my clients, look, I need you to get a limited power of attorney for your business, so that you can set it aside, this information, that someone knows this is how I operate my business. This is what's going on. See, just why it's always good to have your paperwork in order. These are my business deals. These are my these people owe me money, that type of stuff. Because if it's not written down, then trust me, people will perpetrate like it doesn't even exist. I'm gonna tell you right now. So over 21 years as an attorney, I'm gonna tell you right now, when there's an absence, then guess what? There's a person who is going to try to ignore and circumvent what they owe you. But don't do that to you. In this moment, in this time, just start writing your stuff down. You see it on the screen. What's my basic CEO responsibilities for my personal business, right? Also, with regards to an irrevocable trust, I get a lot of conversations with regards to trust, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not something that you just pull it off the internet. Ta-da! I have a trust, because there's conversations that we had with regards to your trust, whether or not you are going to allow, like Kobe Bryant, he has an irrevocable trust. Vanessa is able to eat off of it and to take money from it, but when she passes away, everything goes to her girls. their daughters, and so they set that up. But there's so many different types of trusts out there. There can be family trusts, there could be a B trust, there could be a charitable lead trust or a charitable remainder trust, meaning that you have put aside some money for a nonprofit that you're operating, or a nonprofit that you gift. Yeah, everyone wants to be a philanthropist, but they don't have any plans in place. So it's always good to know what these different options are for people with regards to an irrevocable trust, which is you cannot change it. An irrevocable trust meaning that you cannot change it. But the cool thing is that anything that is in the assets of the irrevocable trust, then it's no longer in your estate assets. So that you're not going to be taxed on it. You can transfer the title. You can assign income to this irrevocable trust. The trust would have to pay taxes and things of that nature. Some people are like, yeah, but an irrevocable trust will pay more taxes. That's for you and your accountant to think about, like, what's the best case scenario, because an irrevocable trust, it can donate to a nonprofit. An irrevocable trust can run a business. An irrevocable trust can help generations and family generations. It can even skip generations, and that you could set it up for yourself and your grandchildren. Of course, please understand that having this conversation, it's just enough to drop the seed into you, so that you can be aware of the different things that's out there. Oftentimes, this is not a conversation that most people have with regards to the real, true CEO responsibilities, estate planning. Usually, you may find someone who only can talk about insurance, or you might find somebody who only talks about risk management, or only talks about stocks and bonds, or you may hear somebody say, oh, you need a business, oh, you need to get a trust. But when you understand that it's your responsibility, when we say that we want to change the financial trajectory, the trajectory of our financial legacy, then we have to make some moves right now so that we can put these things in place. One of the big moves right now is to protect your assets with regards to obviously your home. Obviously, if you have a business, you have some assets in place, your goodwills in place with regards to your inventory, protecting those assets. I have clients who operate home cares, clients who operate home health, clients who operate like transportation services, medical supply companies, clients who are in the child carepreneur, health carepreneur, even on the beauty side, and they have started to protect their digital currency by protecting their digital assets with regards to their copyrights, with regards to their trademarks, even with regards to their patents. So when you're protecting your assets, some people are like, that's funny, I don't have any assets. Well, if you don't have any assets and you're a grown person and you in business, then you need to self-assess what is going on. Are you just wasting your time, or are you being proactive with regards to getting of changing the trajectory of your legacy? Because our parents, they were only taught to survive, and that's all they did, and they didn't realize that saying scratching and surviving, just getting in the fit in, or doing what God allowed. Well, God allows you to expand your territory, but obviously you got to work and walk and talk differently so that you can enlarge your territory, right? So even with regards to the protection of your assets, I want you to know that those are digital assets, and also your business protection. Let me just tell you, I told my client yesterday, I said, here's the sad thing. The sad thing is that you have more protection when you hire an employee than you do when you have an independent contractor. Period. What? Because an employee, you can be like, okay, I need you here. I need to train you on how our operation is. I need to know what you're doing. I need to know what you're doing on social media. I need to know if there's any conflicts. Let me know about it. If you need any training, give me the information that you need and I'll give it to you. With regards to, I'm going to teach you my process, and you can get them to sign off on, that they will not start a business using your digital information, your intellectual property. You'll make sure that there is no conflict. You'll make sure that they are not asking other people to soliciting non-solicitation clause with regards to any defamation. You can have those conversations, right? Similarly, you can have those conversations with independent contractors. It boggles my mind how many people have independent contractors in their business, but they are not setting as much boundaries as possible. Not the boundaries like, I'm gonna pay you every 2 weeks, because obviously when you start paying people and you start treating people and you start reimbursing people for things that was usually something that the employees receive, then it could be interpreted that you have an employee. You may have a misclassified employee. And let me just tell you, having a misclassified employee is not really good, because the government will gotcha, and dig into them assets that you've been trying to protect. Okay. So I need you to understand that you need to understand what's essential. What are you going to have employees do? What are you going to have non-employees do? How accessible will your intellectual property be with regards to the non-employees, with regards to the non-solicitation, with regards to how they operate their business and things of that nature? Because the business protection really is about how you operate your business. If you're not operating your business as a business, then guess what? Then the business may not be deemed as a business when you need to limit your liability. And some people are like, oh no, well, I could just start another business. Come on now, let me just tell you, if it ever gets to a point where there is a litigation, and I'm a litigator, right? I'm not a litigator on social media land, but I'm a litigator in real life. So if there's ever a question, we're going to look at your documents. We're going to look at your mission. We're going to look at your how you were running your business, because if your business have no money, because some people try to be slickericious with that, and they make sure they keep their business with no money, they keep it with no assets, or they're smart and they have a holding company. That's a whole different conversation. But with regards to the business, I want you to understand that even when you are trying to use structure, because it's all about structure, baby, and it's okay to avoid, you just can't evade. So the structuring, even with the asset protection side of it, as long as there's no litigation going on, you can have things in place where you are avoiding the possibility of losing your assets. Okay. So with regards to even the business protection, that when you're operating your business like a business, if you are incorporated, good Lord, y'all, if you are incorporated, just make sure that you do have a board. If you have a board, make sure that they're having meetings. If they're having meetings, make sure that there is someone who's writing notes with regards to what is being said in the meetings, because that's what it is. It's not with regards to you setting something up and saying, well, I have a business, I have my liability is limited. No, that's not how it works. You have a business, there are rules and regulations depending on your entity, depending on what the requirements are, depending on how you handle your business and your business bank account. That's a whole different conversation to be had. Okay. So I hope this is really good information for you right now. I don't see any questions right now, but let's go in as to like getting lawyered up. What does that mean on the personal side of your business, right? What does it mean with regards to your estate planning? You definitely need an estate plan in place, because you don't know the day or the hour when the Lord is going to call you home, right? And also that the estate planning for your spouse. I want you, even if you have a child's father and you guys aren't married, I want you to have an estate plan for them. I want you to have risk management with regards to whether or not you can get some insurance on them, because if something should happen to them, not right now, but when everything clears out and you can become more proactive, you need to have that discussion and that conversation. And I would tell you, I have insurance on my husband, and he allowed me to do it. And he has insurance on me, because unless you become an irrevocable beneficiary, there's still going to be a question as to who's going to pay the bill. But when you have your own insurance policy, you can control what's going to happen with that insurance policy, right? With getting lawyer out with regards to custody agreements. Sometimes people are going back and forth. I'll never forget when I first got out. When I first got out, I was a law clerk, and then I went over to a litigating firm. And then I was like, you know what, forget this. I'm going to start my own business. And that's when I had discovered, I had started family law as a side hustle at the insurance defense firm. And then I got taken for a loop with regards to the whole custody and the whole snatching and how people play games. But this is what I did learn during that time period, that 7-year time period, is that, possession is 9/10 of the law. Possession. So who possesses the child at that particular time when the documents are filed, then those are the ones who are pretty much going to get custody of the child, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just telling you. With regards to support, in Pennsylvania right now, if someone fails to pay their support, hopefully you have a good relationship and you can call them up and say, hey, the baby needs this, or my son needs that, daughter needs that, because of there is a petition for contempt. But in Pennsylvania, the courts are closed down at least until like April. So with regards to if someone doesn't do anything or pay, then that becomes a problem, right? With regards to you and your child. So that's where you also need to know that just because you have an issue, the likelihood of you getting a court hearing within 2 to 3 months of your filing is kind of slim to none. There's ways around it, but I'm not going to have that conversation right now because I don't want people to take a little snippet and say, Toni said, because I'm not going to do that. But there are certain ways around it when you have to make possibility of a unilateral custody order, because of an emergency and things of that nature. Guardianship, we talked about it for your minor children and for family members who are mentally incapacitated, physically incapacitated, and they are your dependents, right? And you want to make sure that they're taken care of and they're good. Your personal security, their personal security. As for those of y'all who do not know, I do have 2 sisters who passed away, domestic violence. And when I was in family law, we oftentimes had to file a protection from abuse order because the individuals, both male and female, were being abused, right? And because of that, I didn't want anybody to end up in a bad situation from abuse. That would be an awful situation. So if you are in a situation where you don't feel safe at home, you need to call, you need to make some arrangements. I know with regards to the social distancing, but some people have cabin fever and they go crazy. And somebody recently was like, well, even if you don't like it, at least you don't have to be alone. But you don't ever should ever be okay with getting your behind beat. Okay. I need you to know that you have a right to your personal security, even with your children. It's hard. I do have friends, if, inbox and we can connect. If you are fearful of your life, your body, of being bodily harm, serious bodily harm, and you say, I really need some help, because I know that abuse has arisen because a lot of people are stuck in situations with their abusers, and that's not good for anybody. With regards to business protection, we talked about a lot with regards to running your business like a business, also with regards to having agreements in place, also with regards to registering your copyright, your trademarks, and your patents. If you have a product, it's amazing. I am going through a patent process right now for myself to see how it is, so I can better be able to, to help other people. Financial protection. I know people are like, oh, we talk budgets. I'm like, look, it's one thing to hear about budgets and it's another thing to set one up and to implement and make sure that, you have a budget so that you can have some money just in case when things shut down, you're not hungry. When things shut down, you're not thinking about bankruptcy. When things shut down, you feel like you're financially secured in what you're doing, right? So I want you to also understand and appreciate that even with the financial protection, there are some governmental agencies out there with regards to financial protection. Also, if you have a job, you're part of a 401k, then there may be avenues where you can file hardships. I would rather have you get a loan, because if you pull out money for hardship and it's not a true hardship, then you're going to get hit with a pretty much a 20% tax, because it's going to be deemed as a withdrawal. And then if you're under 59 and a half, you'll also get a 10% penalty. And even if you try to circumvent, okay, it's going to show up, and it's going to show up when you have to file your 2021 tax returns. That's not a good thing. Take it from me, because most people don't have like $10,000-$20,000 set aside because of this of times of emergency. There are so many different loopholes to the statute, but you need to know it can't be a periphery glance. And I'm telling you right now, LegalZoom ain't going to tell you about this. Rocket Lawyer ain't going to tell you about this. You have to be clear and be the CEO of your personal business and be like, you know what? If you don't know it, then it's time for you to seek wise counsel on how you can make sure that this works out for you. Obviously, if at the basic it is, then you can probably do it on your own. But when it's no longer basic, when it's no longer basic, that's when you have to be like, you know what, I need to level up. And I always say people, when they level up, you need to lawyer up, because there's levels to this thing, right? So I'm always telling people, you got to handle your personal business like a business, because you are the CEO of your destiny. You are the one who has to choose you this day. How are you going to execute on all of your opportunities, execute on your family business, execute with regards to your children, execute on what you're going to do for you. So I hope this was good information. If you are a business owner, you can always get the lawyered up blueprints at lawyeredupblueprint.com. If you are not a business owner, but you're like, you know what, I need to start asking myself, how can I get my own financial security? How can I handle my business and things of that nature? Then guess what? That's where you're going to have to handle your business, right? So that's lawyeredupblueprint.com. You're going to see more of me. As you probably know, I do have the lawyeredupbootcamp.com, the Lawyered Up Bootcamp, and those are for individuals in business. We'll talk about that next week. Individuals who are in business or starting a business or took a leap of faith and they're like, you know what, I'm going to handle my business in business. And they're like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Because I tell people, after you file the form, that's where you're going to have to handle your business. After you file the form, after you register the documents, you still may have some questions. So if you're one of those people is like, I want to handle my business like a business, then, we do have the lawyeredupblueprint.com, the lawyered up, and on the lawyeredupblueprint.com, you will see the 5 areas that I work in, because I'm a business lawyer. I have most of my clients, they treat me as their corporate counsel for their business, because I know a lot about whether it's insurance defense, business, nonprofits, whether it is estate planning, tax planning, trust in estates. I know how to do it for over 12 years or so. I have worked on the business side, the compliance side with regards to the employee benefits, and taken the classes so that I can become a certified business individual who can help people understand the full aspects of running their business and handling their business, and with their employee benefits, and with regards to their estate planning, and with regards to the retirement planning, because I'm really committed to this thing. I truly, I didn't just show up like this. For years, I was offline because, I was cultivated to just do corporate work, and I wanted to always be corporate counsel. So I was trying to be corporate counsel at a business, a Fortune 500 business. Now I only got a chance to do risk management and compliance, but then when I discovered all of my potential clients online, I was like, wow, well, they're all CEOs, and if I work for them, then I can give them the same information that I was given the big law firms and the big corporations, and with regards to the compliance planning. But I also know that, oftentimes we separate the business from the business, their personal business from the corporate business, and it's all together for real, because you are the CEO, whether it is the personal, whether it is the business. You have to make that decision with regards to who to hire, who to fire, what to retain, how to structure yourself, how to de-risk your business, how to increase your income, how to make enough income so that you can put some money away, because we're all chasing after the dream of securing our legacy and setting up enough money for ourselves, our children, and our children's children. And the best way I know how to do that is to seek to know what the answer is, setting up the goals, the strategy, and also just following through with that strategic plan of success. So if I can be of any assistance, definitely, if there's any questions, definitely ask the question. You can find me at Toni Moore, ToniMooreESQ.com. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm on social media on the legal side at ToniMooreESQ.com. For some people, they also know me as an empowerment person, an inspirational woman of faith, who I do a lot of women's inspiration, a lot of women's ministry, and that is at MS Toni Moore for mindset and strategies Toni Moore. So you can find me on Instagram, or on Facebook as well at MS Toni Moore. But hopefully this was good information. Hopefully you understand and appreciate that it really is up to you. It's up to you to protect your family, to protect your business, to protect your legacy, to protect your intellectual property, and also not just to protect, but to thrive in this thing that we call life. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, Toni Moore. Alrighty. Thanks. Bye for now. We'll keep this on rotation. Also, for more information about the Lawyered Up Bootcamp, you can go to lawyerupbootcamp.com or lawyeredupbootcamp.com. And for information or to get a replay of this, just go over to lawyeredupblueprint.com and you'll get the information and so much more information. So thanks. Bye for now. We will talk real soon.